This is Optimal Living Daily, episode 2726. Anxiety is your imagination? A Psychologist explains, by Dr. Allison Niebes-Davis of Dr. Allison Answers.com. And I'm Justin Malik. We're talking about the big one today, anxiety, probably relevant for all of us in some fashion. So with that, let's get right into today's post as we optimize your life. Anxiety is your imagination? A Psychologist explains, by Dr. Allison Niebes-Davis of Dr. Allison Answers.com. Years ago, I read something that said, anxiety is just imagination. I thought long and hard about that phrase, and I'll be honest, I'm not thrilled about the use of the word just. I think it's minimizing and dismissive. Anxiety has more complexity and nuance, and the word just feels demeaning for people who struggle with anxiety. But outside of the word just, I decided I really liked that phrase. Anxiety is imagination. When you struggle with anxiety, your brain has the incredible ability to think of the worst case scenario. Your brain has the incredible ability to predict the worst possible outcomes and explanations for things. Your friend reads your texts or opens a Snap but doesn't respond all day, and you're convinced they're mad at you. Your boss sets up a meeting and you're convinced you're in trouble. You have a new and somewhat unusual health symptom and you're convinced it's cancer. In each of these situations, your brain is imagining the worst possible outcome or explanation. It doesn't know for certain that's the explanation or outcome, but nonetheless, it imagines, predicts, and then feels certain of this awful explanation. It doesn't know, it imagines. Anxiety involves imagination. So here's where things get cool. If anxiety involves imagination, then you can harness that imagination to help you. You can use the same skill that makes you anxious to make you less anxious. So let's look at an example. Let's say your boss emails you and says they want to set up a meeting. Immediately you think, I'm in trouble. Your anxiety tells you you've done something wrong and are getting reprimanded. Your anxiety doesn't know this. Your anxiety is imagining this. So let's harness that imagination and let's imagine all of the possible reasons your boss wants to meet. Maybe it's that you're in trouble. Your anxiety is already imagining that, and I'll give it to you. It's a possibility. But maybe your boss wants to talk about a new project or task they're assigning to you. Maybe they want to follow up about something you turned in or presented earlier. Maybe they want to talk about duties being reassigned among your team. Maybe they want to ask your opinion on something. Maybe they want to talk about schedule changes. Maybe they're going to tell you that they're going on parental leave or that they're leaving the company. Maybe they want to ask for feedback about how they're doing as a boss. Maybe they want to tell you about an exciting new development in the company. Maybe they want to give you kudos on the awesome work that you're doing lately. Or maybe they want to give you a raise. Your anxiety just wants to imagine one awful, terrible outcome or explanation. But you can harness that imagination to consider other possibilities and explanations. And when you do that, you take what feels certain and make it less certain. When you harness your imagination to consider other possibilities, your anxiety will come down. Imagination involves creative thinking, identifying new and different ideas. It involves thinking outside of the box, stretching beyond your initial ideas, and finding new ones. However, I want to be clear about something. Imagination isn't always easy. Sure, if I'm imagining what I'd do if I won the lottery, that's easy. If I'm imagining all of the places I want to travel post-pandemic, that's easy. But imagining different outcomes when my anxiety is trying to convince me that there's only one certain and awful possibility, that's much harder. If you're anxious, it's easy for your brain to imagine the worst, but it's much harder for your brain to imagine the best or even just the in-between options. So when you find yourself predicting and imagining the worst, here's what I want you to do. Let yourself acknowledge and imagine the worst. That's fine for a second. After all, it is a possibility. But after that, challenge yourself to imagine a bunch of other explanations and outcomes. No matter how silly, small, or unlikely you might think it is, name it, acknowledge it, imagine it as a possibility. That effort, that act of imagination is how you poke holes in your anxiety. It's how you cast doubt on negative outcomes that seem certain in your brain. So when your anxiety pops up this week, use your imagination. Use your imagination to think of all the possibilities, all the explanations, and all the outcomes that could occur. Do that over and over with intention, and you'll be amazed at how quickly your anxiety comes down. Anxiety is imagination. Let's imagine together. You just listened to the post titled, Anxiety is Your Imagination? A Psychologist Explains by Dr. Allison Niebes-Davis of Answers.com. The last few years have been tough for our mental health, but thankfully we can look to our sponsor Headspace, which combines scientifically proven benefits of meditation and mindfulness with modern practices through their experienced meditation teachers. The wide range of teachers with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise ensures there's a teacher and content to help you, whether you're a first timer or have been practicing for years like I have. And with over 1,000 hours of material on Headspace, it's easy to fit into my schedule, and I have no problem finding really meaningful meditations. Headspace has helped me and more than 100 million people worldwide. They can help you too. Listen up, you do not want to miss this. I've arranged something special. For a limited time, all of you can try Headspace free for 30 days by going to headspace.com/old30day. You won't find this offer anywhere else. You must use my link, headspace.com/OLD30day to unlock all of Headspace free for 30 days. This is not something they normally do. Headspace.com/old30day. Thank you to Dr. Allison. This is something I think about a lot because I get anxious pretty easily, and it seems in the moment like anxiety is helping, or at least trying to help. So for example, Dr. Allison mentioned your boss sets up a meeting and you're convinced you're in trouble, or you have an odd health symptom and you assume it's the worst. In those cases, it could be argued that your brain is trying to prepare you for how you should react once you get that news. Maybe the boss has bad news, maybe not, but the anxiety is a way of trying to work it out ahead of time, like come up with a backup plan or a counter argument, something. And that's a fair argument, but I think most of us would agree that whatever those rushing, adrenaline-filled thoughts are before the thing actually happens, they're not really helping you prepare. They're too panicky. They don't come from a place of pragmatism and logic. It's emotion-fueled. So that's another thing I'd want to add to all of this. If your logical side tries to argue with this way of thinking and saying it's fine, then try it out. Let your imagination go to the bad, but don't let it stay there. Try thinking about all the options like she mentioned. With practice, it might just help. So thank you again to Dr. Allison for this one. Hopefully it helps you in your journey. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow for the Friday show, where your optimal life awaits.